Are you a business owner, a solo entrepreneur, small business owner, or perhaps you're thinking of starting your own business? This might be the message you've been waiting for because what you see and the world is portraying, and when you're running your own business, sometimes feels like two different things. Sometimes you look at this and go, oh boy, can I do this? Is this even real? Like, why did I even start doing this when you start being the person that is the center of your entire business? So, if this is you, stay tuned because today we're unpacking the hard, the difficult stuff, what we call the ugly, but how it can actually be your beauty. So, stay tuned. Hello, everybody. My name is Claire. And for those of you who don't know me, I am a life coach and I'm also a business coach. And through the last few years of coaching both life and business coaching, which I both love, I've actually noticed something very strange. It's not so strange, it's just I've connected the dots in saying that every person that I have coached that is a small business owner or entrepreneur, what happens is we get to a point of our trying to sort our lives out and trying to build this beautiful life, but in the same time, trying to build up this business. And sometimes it feels like I have to choose between one or the other. It's a very hard path. Now, somebody who has been creating and building my own businesses, some successful, some not so successful. So, yes, it is okay because you sometimes have to have those very deep, dark moments and not be successful for you to actually grow from and learn to level up to the next level. But one of the things that I have noticed in my journey, thinking back, is it can be an incredibly lonely journey. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because if you were in a work setting, you might find that you had friends and you had colleagues and everybody was, you weren't paying the bills, you got a salary and you just came to work, did your job, went home, right? Whereas now you find yourself all of a sudden you doing everything. You're doing 20 people's jobs all at once, and it's overwhelming. You're working nights, weekends, days. You are trying to build a business, a name. You're trying to get clients. You don't know how. And you all of a sudden have to be good at sales, at marketing, at finance, at business development, and project management and social media and you know what I'm talking about, right? So the thing about this journey, and this is what I'm noticing from everybody that I coach, is that not only does it feel lonely, it feels overwhelming. And we often don't know how to balance that personal life and that business life. And sure, I have been there too. And some days I still get there and I have to remind myself, I'm going back to that place. I remember once I was really battling in my business and I was tearing my hair out. I didn't know what to do. And I went to somebody that I trusted very deeply. And this person is fantastic at business. Everything they touch goes to gold. I went to this person and I asked for help. And for a couple of weeks, that person just brushed it off and brushed it off and brushed it off and wouldn't help me. And one day I said, please, I am begging you, like, please, can you help me? I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. And it was a half-hearted look. And I was like, ugh, it's like, this is too small for me to bother with. And in that moment, I felt small. And what did I do? I made the fatal mistake that we all make. I felt small. I made myself small in that moment. And I thought, well, obviously I'm not smart enough to work this out on my own. Other people don't want to help me. So this is a failure. I can't do it. And I started listening to the voice inside my head over and over again. And every day I grew that voice about I'm not smart enough. But what that did was it stopped me from asking for help. It stopped me from reaching out. It stopped me from saying to anybody, I'm battling here because of one person. So instead of going to another person, another, until I found the right person, in that moment, I decided, no, I had to do it all by myself. And my life became an absolute misery. And this is what I want to tell you. And this is what we're talking about today. The one thing I'm noticing now with you as my clients, and even sometimes with me, is it is a lonely road. It is a path where sometimes we feel so alone and so unheard. And we look at the outside world and it looks so successful because you're looking at these businesses promoting and staff all happy. And, I always say to the teenage girls that I'm coaching, I said, all your friends, when they stand there with their photo and they're like selfieing in the moment and they're smiling against the sunset, and all of this. As soon as they put that phone down, do you really think that's what they look like? And do you really think that's what their life's like? Because that's what's being portrayed and we believe it. And certainly for us too. And the same with our businesses, because we're promoting our businesses, we're doing all this work. But in the background, have we really got that sunset picture and that like standing there all happy and glad? Well, it's not always the case. Because sometimes you are, like I said, doing 20 people's work and you're the one. If something goes wrong, you're the one. Or you're dropping balls and things are just not happening. And people say, well, just get more staff. Well, I don't have the finances to get more staff. And this is the road of the entrepreneur. Unless you start with massive amount of cash and you can just push it into the business, which is ultimately what you should be doing. But if you don't and you start at the bottom, like most of us, this is the path. So speaking to my clients and working through these challenges, in time I thought to myself, this is actually interesting. One thing we don't have is a supportive community, a community where you can log in and say, man, I am having a bad day. Does anybody else find that this or that? Has anybody else got a solution on how I could do this easier? And this is where I want this community to start growing into. I'm overwhelmed here. I'm overworked there. Do you have a product here? Like, how do you incorporate AI to take off all this pressure just to give you more time with your kids? How is the house duties fitting into all of this? How is holidays and children and friends? And then sometimes I bet half of your friends aren't even in the picture because where are you going to get the time for all of this? But there has to be balance because when there's not balance in your life, that is when things start falling apart. That's when you get overwhelmed, you start burning out, and the next thing you know, you are going, I can't do this anymore, and you want to give up. So, what does a community look like in your mind that is supportive? So, if I'm having a bad day, can I write something on there that goes, be totally vulnerable and go, this is difficult. I don't get this, or I've got this big problem. Is there anybody who's had this problem before? Does anybody know the solution? Does this sound like something that you'd like to be part of? Because that's what I am envisioning for the future. I want people to be able to jump on, to be vulnerable enough, because that is the problem of the entrepreneur. We're not vulnerable. We keep it all inside. We keep all these emotions inside from and making ourselves small to I'm overworked. I can't do this anymore. I'm burning out, to not asking for help when you should have, asking the wrong people and then making yourself small, like I did. So, the question I want to ask you today is what value would you put on that as a business owner? Now, what if we started building this community together right now? Not tomorrow, right now. So, I'm going to put a link in the bottom and you're welcome to join. But when you join, is to say, it's time to be vulnerable. It's time to ask for help. It is time to be able to say, I'm having a great day and I'm going to help somebody else. Or I know the solution. I spent 6 months on that. And hey, here you go. Here's some help. Here's some advice. And in the last few months, I have in the background been putting together a challenge. Now, what's the difference between a challenge and a course? Well, simply this. A course, especially as an entrepreneur, you're going to run the course in the beginning with great enthusiasm because it's going to give you all the answers and you're going to suddenly be swamped with work because you've now taken your time out of your day, your already busy life, and you put it in this course and you just can't see the outcome or the light in the tunnel. And before you know it, you've given up on the course. And that surely can happen. And before you know it, you've totally forgotten about the course and the value that it has to offer. And it's one of those, another tick box of things that you have not completed that's just lying there. You haven't made it a priority. Now, to be successful in business, You have to make continuous learning a priority. You have to have communication and networking as a priority. You have to have that in your life for you to become totally successful. So if you're not doing that, then what does it look like in a course that we are just giving up? Whereas a challenge is you watch a quick video or you read something, and for the rest of the week, you have to implement that something. You're on a group, and that group will hold you accountable, and you will hold them accountable. Accountability buddies are great until they're not your accountability buddies because they're falling into their own life again, or you have fallen out of being the accountability buddy. But with a challenge, you've got a whole group that is your accountability buddy, and they're all holding you to one standard. It's almost like you can't fail. So if you had one task a week and then got together and you had a webinar where we could have a coffee break, we'll get together and we have a good coffee and we could discuss this. We can network, we can market, we can come up with solutions, we can talk about the stuff that we are learning, and we do this over 6 months. Where do you think you would be? Where we start transforming not only our business but our life in general, how we start looking forward, how we start building instead of just being like a rhino and stamping out fires all day long. How do we really start growing instead of just doing the mundane over and over? How do we create those future visions? How do we go from small to big to empires? How do we go there and to really start being each other's shoulders? So you take this lonely world and you start transforming it into something that's really worth it, not only for you, because you're going to be giving back too in this community, but you are going to be helping others too. So you're giving and you're getting, and all of a sudden you got a family, and all of a sudden you got a voice, and all of a sudden it's okay to have a bad day, and all of a sudden it is fantastic to have a good day because you've got everybody celebrating with you. And that's another thing I found in this business, is that the celebration times when you're a solo entrepreneur is boring. Why? Because there's nobody else to celebrate with you. It's alone. And then what do? We don't celebrate them because what's the point? Whereas you have a group. Should I say more? So this is what I'm working on. This is my sneak peek into what's really going on behind the scenes with this person and creating these challenges for you in the background. There's obviously going to be a waiting list, and there's obviously going to be a process where we have to actually see if you're going to fit into this criteria. So you're going to have to do an application to see. You can definitely join the group, but to be part of the actual experience, the challenge, we're going to have to see if you qualify, because we want to make sure that the right people with the right vulnerability and the right motivation and the right, the people who's really going to make a difference is going to be part of this group. So is it going to be you? I'm super excited about this because for the first time, I think so many people in this day and age and the difficulties of life is really wanting this. So I really hope to see you soon. And if there's something you guys want to start talking about, or we want to get out on platforms like this where you want subjects discussed, hey, put it in the comments below. Let's start talking about these things. Let's make courses. Let's do stuff on this. Let's start growing. Let's get us to the next level. Perhaps that empire you've always been dreaming of. Until the next time, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.